If you've ever had that nagging, frustrating pain in your lower back, you are definitely not alone. It's one of the top reasons people go to the doctor, right? And the advice you get can be, well, it can be all over the place. Today, we're going to cut through all that noise and look at a huge scientific study that tried to find a real answer. So, what actually works for low back pain?
Okay, so before we can even get to the solution, we really need to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of the problem. This isn't just some minor thing, it's a universal pain that literally affects millions and millions of us every single day.
I mean, it's the question, isn't it? It sends so many of us to the doctor. You're in pain, you just want to feel better, but figuring out how to get there can feel, well, it can feel incredibly confusing. And that's really the heart of the matter. This isn't just a little annoyance. It's a massive, costly health problem. We're talking billions in lost work and healthcare costs. So that uncertainty around what actually works, it's a huge, huge challenge, not just for us as patients, but for the doctors trying to help us too. All right, so let's try to navigate this treatment maze, you could call it. When you're in pain, what are the options on the table, and how in the world do you find your way through it all? You know, it's not just us who are confused. The very experts who ran this study said it themselves right from the start. They looked at the existing science, and their own words were that the evidence was conflicting and weak. That's exactly why a big, definitive study like this one was so badly needed. So, the researchers wanted to cut right through all that noise. They decided, okay, let's put these three super popular treatments under the microscope and test them head to head. We're talking about just general physical activity, specific and structured exercise classes, and of course, spinal manipulation, that hands-on therapy you might get from a chiropractor or an osteopath.
So, how do you answer a question that big? Well, you don't do a small study. You design a massive, really carefully planned experiment.
And that experiment was called the BEAM trial. The name really says it all: back pain, exercise, and manipulation. The goal was super simple and direct. Find out what works best for everyday people seeking help from their regular doctors. And listen, this wasn't some tiny little study. We're talking about 1,334 patients with persistent back pain who took part. A number that big gives the findings a ton of credibility. It makes this one of the most important studies of its kind, ever. Okay, this is where the study design gets really, really smart. Let's break it down. So every single person in the study got what they call best care advice from their doctor. That's the baseline. The real question was, what's the extra benefit you get when you add a physical treatment on top of that standard advice? Now, to measure if any of this was actually working, they didn't just ask, hey, how's your pain? No. They used something much more concrete: a standardized daily activity score. It's basically a checklist of 24 things, like bending over or putting on your socks, that pain makes difficult. A lower score means you're getting your life back, one activity at a time. All right, here we go, the moment of truth. After tracking all these people for months, what did the data actually show? Did any of these treatments really make a difference? So let's look at what happened in the short term. At that 3-month mark, what's amazing is that all 3 physical treatments provided a real statistically significant benefit. As you can see, exercise helped. Spinal manipulation helped a little bit more. And putting the two together, well, that gave the best results of all. But what does a number like 1.6 points even mean in real life? Well, the researchers spelled it out for us. It means you've gained back the ability to do 1 or 2 of those simple daily activities that your pain had stolen from you. So we're not just talking about numbers on a chart. This is about real, meaningful changes in people's day-to-day lives. But, and this is a really big but, what happens over the long haul? Let's jump forward to the 1-year mark, because this is where things get really interesting. The benefit from the exercise-only group, it had pretty much faded away. But look at this. The improvements from spinal manipulation and the combined group actually lasted for the entire year. That's a huge finding. You know, they also looked into another interesting question, something that's been debated for a while. Does it matter where you get the treatment, like in a government-run clinic versus a private one? And the answer was a loud and clear no. The outcomes were basically the same. The effectiveness was in the treatment itself, not the building it happened in. Okay, so we've looked at all this data, all these charts. Let's boil it all down. What does this actually mean for you, or for someone you know who's dealing with that nagging back pain? What's the bottom line?
All right, here are the key findings, plain and simple. Exercise can give you a real but short-term boost. Spinal manipulation, that gives you a benefit that's a bit bigger and crucially, it lasts. And if you do both together, you get the most benefit and it also sticks around. Oh, and maybe the most important part, all of these treatments were found to be safe.
And really, this table just lays it all out perfectly. It tells the whole story at a glance. You can see that short-term versus long-term impact side by side. Exercise is great for a quick win. But if you're looking for a benefit that actually holds up over time, it looks like spinal manipulation is a key part of the puzzle.
So, the study was a huge success, right? It gave us clear, powerful evidence that these physical treatments, especially with spinal manipulation in the mix, offer real, lasting benefits for people with back pain. But, and this is the final thought from the researchers themselves, it left us with one more giant question. Are these benefits worth the cost? And that, well, that's a whole other conversation, isn't it? It's a question that we in our healthcare systems still have to figure out.